Alrighty, several people on the Discord have been asking me questions about my economy and my logistics efforts in the game so far, and so I thought I'd just do a video about it. We are 41 turns or days into the war, and this is where my logistics stand. Let me go ahead. Economy-wise, I think we're doing quite fine. Let me pull over some numbers so you guys can see. Let's see. Use this one. Now make it so you guys can see it. Come on, where's there? It is. Nope. Dang it. Quit moving away. Alrighty. Let me go ahead and see if I can make this larger for you. Doesn't really seem to help that much, but alright. So, this is my tool called Action Outline. My friend Nomad, also a former Warren Pacific player, taught me or showed it to me, and I've been using it since then. It's nice. It lets you organize all your stuff. And yes, this does say don't take stupid chances with CVs, because I tend to do that sometimes. So these are my stats going into turn 42, which will be January 7th. Here's the score. I track everything on here. I track manually, just so you know. So the score is 6303 to 10967. How many points we went up? The Russian garrison is at 11,222. Went up a point. And my political points is 1,286 at the moment. Heavy industries at 835,000. Went up 1,600. Armaments went down 800, so I'm at 1,300 only. I've been chewing through armaments like crazy. So far, I have not gone negative or run out, but I'm skating on the line almost every turn now. Once I get some of the initial upgrades done, that should start going up all the time. So I'm hoping that'll start turning around all the time now. My naval shipyards. Oh, there's a typo here. You see I'm losing 1,868 nav shipyard points this past turn. Manpower, I'm at 28,000. Vehicles, I'm at 954. And merchant shipyards, I'm at 3,362. The numbers in the brackets to the right of these are the change from last turn, positive or negative. And the number in the brackets after what they are, armaments, nav ship, merchant ship, and vehicles, is how many points per turn I have factories to produce. So I make 700 armament points a turn. Last turn, I went down 800 points. So I used 1,500 this past turn. Pretty straightforward, simple stuff. Next, I go what I consider empire stats. These are the 4 main items empire-wide. If you use Tracker, these numbers are easy to get. They're readily available. And since I use it, and I don't know a Japanese player that doesn't use them, they're readily available. So empire-wide, I have 10.5 million resources owned. I went up 4,500 last turn. My base is 4,500 more than I consume. And here's the breakdown. I produce 300,000 a turn, 144,000 go to heavy industry, 151,000 go to light industry. Next is oil. I have 4.5 million oil. Tons is all in tons. I went down 7,800 last turn. Not quite, but give or take a couple. Because I'm not sure if you've noticed, but most people probably have. Almost every base has one resource and one oil on it. Dot bases everything. I'm not sure if it's a bug, a feature. All the bases start with at least one of each. So every time you take a little dot base, you technically gain one resource and one oil. Whether it's worth going to collect them at those little bases is usually not. So once again, I'm making 3,500 oil a turn, but I'm consuming 11,000. Fuel, same type of thing. I have basically 6 million tons of fuel. I used 8,000 tons last turn. I'm losing 3,000 tons a day. I produce 11,000 tons of fuel a day. And I consume 14,000 just for my heavy industry. So this 3,096 is my minimum loss a day compared to what I produce and what I consume. And then, of course, whatever my ships use whenever I refuel them. And then I have just over 4 million tons of supplies across my empire. I am producing 25,886 tons a day. So, you can see, so I lost 20,000 tons in the empire last turn. Now, I go down to stats for Japan. Same stats, just they're in Japan where most of the resources and oil doesn't matter, and fuel really doesn't matter where they're at. If they're not in Japan, they're not doing you any real good. Especially resources and oil. Resources, I have 5.6 million tons in Japan. Now, the empire-wide includes all of these numbers. And I have 67 days of resources at the moment in Japan if I don't bring any more in. Oil, I have 3.5 million tons. I use 7,500 a day. I have a year and a half worth of oil. Fuel, same type of thing, 3.4 million. I have 274 days of fuel just for my industry, not counting what I consume for my ships. And supply, I have just over 2 million tons of supply in Japan. I lost 846 tons last turn is what I consumed in Japan. So, and then I go through my normal turn stuff. I'll plop down to the turn I just finished. Even though the video will be out when you guys see this too. So you can see bases captured, bases lost, facilities built, not factories. I've written down when I expand bases, forts, airfields, ports. I track when I get new arrivals, ground units, air groups. But my pilots come back from being wounded, or when I move them between units, ship arrivals, and movement completed. Very important. This is probably the most important category here. The reason I track this is how many times you send a unit to go somewhere, it arrives and you forget all about it, and then all of a sudden, hey, they're attacking, and why is he still in strategic mode? I moved him there 2 months ago. Well, that's why, because you forgot about them. Tracker tracks all these for you, tells you when units have arrived at their destination. So I write those down for whether they're individual hexes or different bases. And then I make sure that when I do my turn, I go back and I look at these locations and find the ones that moved. Now, some of them I just leave there. I take them from move mode to combat mode or strategic mode to combat mode. Some of them I move somewhere else. It all depends on what you're doing with them, but it makes sure you don't have a unit sitting there for a week, because you forgot it moved somewhere. And you're like, where'd that regiment go? Oh yeah, it's been sitting in Tokyo for the last 10 days. Well, a regiment in Tokyo doesn't do you any good until like 45. And then I go into all my notes, the stuff I want to do when I'm able to. I am tracking ranges of enemy aircraft to the home islands from these bases, so I know where not to stack up my my units, which is why I'm bombing not Chongqing, but Changsha and Wenchao every day to suppress those airfields. And then I just have some notes in here too. Then I come down here to the 5 bases I am tracking on a daily basis of damage I do to the airfield or port. Almost all airfield damage. Then I'm tracking replace the Chinese units that I've destroyed when I think they're gonna return. Ones that I've mauled, which means they're combat ineffective. And then because I'm anal retentive, I track a lot of other stuff. Some people do this. I'm thinking probably a lot of people don't. Especially on the Allied side, you probably don't care because you get plenty of everything. But you can see units in the field at bases. You mouse over it. There's 2 units here. Well, what does that really mean? Doesn't mean anything. If it's 2 Chinese corps, that means a lot. If it's two Chinese base forces, that's nothing to worry about. So I go through and I track them as much as I can. Like here at Hex 7355, there's 2 units there. I've identified one of them. and so forth. I have a bunch of these for China. Then I come into Malaya, the 2 bases they have left. Mindanao, Burma. I'm starting to track all of those. Which ones I've destroyed and which ones I haven't that I've located. I'm scouting and bombing a little bit in Sumatra to kind of locate what he's doing there, and does not look like he's doing anything crazy or what I would consider exploitable, like Fortress Palembang. That is bullshit, because Palembang is the biggest, most important base for the Japanese in the entire map. If you capture Palembang with like 10 oil left, game over. Just resign and start again. And then some data I have about different units and so forth. And then I have a ton of notes in here. Let me see. Where economy. Okay. Here's my engine plan. How many factories I plan on putting per engine, and roughly how many of them a month I want to be able to build. And then my production aircraft, current production only. And then notes of what I'm going to do once they're maxed out and so forth. And then, of course, some R&D notes, which are not finished, because I usually do most of this in a spreadsheet. And just stuff like that. So let me go ahead and take this down. Come over here, hit J for the industry hotkey, turn them all off, go to engines. You can actually see most of my researchable engines are all maxed out at size 30 or whatever they had to be to come out even, because when you change them, sometimes they're larger than 30 because you don't have a choice. Got the Mitsubishi 43 here. Nakajima 45 here. You can see this guy's going to be size 80. I didn't really have a choice on that when I converted it, so he's still repairing while these ones are not. And then the turbojets are at 30. It does not mean that's what size they will stay, but that is the most efficient research size for engines and aircraft. I don't know who discovered this years ago, but it was someone smarter than me. Then I come through, and then these, of course, are my production engines, 32s, 33s, 34, 35s, just what I'm producing of them. Aircraft, I have a ton of aircraft factories I am not using at all right now. The R&D is set to historic, so I cannot change these to whatever I want. They have to be a production factory, so probably about half my aircraft factories are turned off at the moment. I'm producing Zeros, Kates, Babs, Vals, of course, Nels, Mavis, 2A Sallies. The Nates I'm producing just because I can. I have a bunch of engines in the pool, so I might as well produce some aircraft out of them, because early on you need every fighter you can get. Producing ANs, I like them. They are small. They operate 100% out of a size 2 airfield. I'm producing the 1C Oscars, the Mark II Dynas, although Mark IIIs are available. I haven't upgraded yet because they use an engine that I'm in short supply, so I'm staying with the Mark II for right now. I am also producing Tinas and the Sally transports. See, almost all of them are size 30, because that means you get one a day, sometimes two. I do have the Oscars at 60, the Sallies at 60, Nels are at 60, and Zeros are at 90. Then, of course, coming to the air R&D. We are in mid-January 42. All my expansion for all my factories other than engines is completely done. Engines I don't expand all at once. I slowly build them out. Once they have nothing more to repair, if I want them larger, I add like 10 to them. Just a way to keep my supply costs under control. I have expanded all of the R&D factories to size 30 if they're not at least that big. So they are repairing away. First ones due are going to be the roofies and 442. You can see some of them are getting repaired right now. They're about almost about 40% repaired. Skip down through all the Sams, past the Jills, past the Judys, past the Irvings, the Shinden, the Karyu, the 2A Tojo I'm producing for June of 42. Those are repairing along nicely. The 1A Hellens are coming along nicely. Actually, this guy is finished. He's fully repaired. I need to change him up to the, I believe, the 2B version, which is my final version I want. Researching the Peggy, and then a bunch of Franks, then some Georges, and then Francis is my last aircraft. But overall, let me bring my action outline back. This really has all the data on it that we need to look at. Overall, economically, I'm in a good spot. I think I still have 4 million supply empire-wide, half of which is in Japan. I'm still shipping supply out of Japan, so that's why I'm not going up much. Because, new units come in, I ship them out with a full load of supplies. I'm shipping out, I probably shipped out 500,000 tons of supply out of Japan since the beginning of the game, not considering what I've consumed for my industry expansions and repairs. Oil stuff's looking good. I haven't really captured any oil bases, so my oil and fuel are still negatives. That will change eventually. I'm not worried about that. Resources are positive now. Not positive enough, but I am making more than I'm consuming. My issue now is transferring it all home. It's still going slow, but I'm working on it. I'm hauling a bunch out of the northern islands in Japan. Let me go ahead and get out of Hokkaido. Has a ton of supply resources. So does I can't talk today. Sakhalin. There's a bunch of that there. Sakhalin also has oil. I am pulling as much as I can, as fast as I can, out of Busan. I'm enlarging this stupid little base. It's a size 6 port right now. We're going to go to size 8 so I can suck more out of it. What that does, for those who don't know about the magic highway, yes, I'm using air quotes. This is a concept that allows you to draw resources, fuel, oil, whatever you want from Korea, and it'll suck it all the way out of China, all the way down into Singapore once it's fully moving. Now, of course, it pulls more the better you do in China. Once you take the entire rail line here, you can really pull a lot because then it's traveling along some roads and then rail, which makes your cost to travel a lot less. You move more at a time. But sucking it out of Busan, you will draw out of China. It just takes a while to get set up. Let me see. The one thing you need to be careful, and we've discussed this many times before in my video little series I did about how to play Japan. I go over it a little bit. You don't want to expend too much supply too fast as Japan. You could easily get into a deficit if you expand your industry far too much. You could never recover. You need to plan ahead and decide whether do you really need to expand your light industry. I, for one, pretty much never expand light industry. It's just not worth it. Light industry gives you one supply a turn for 15 resources. It'll take you 1,000 turns to recoup what you need, what you spent to repair it, let alone what you spend to expand it. Because yes, it does cost heavy industry points and supply to expand industry. I believe it's 100 per point. So technically, it takes 1,100 days to recover the supply expenditure for one new light industry point. 1,100 days, that sounds a lot like 3 to 4 years. So the game starts on December of 41. At best, you're looking early 45 before you've recovered before you've broken even on any light industry. Hell, most games don't even go that long. Why are you expanding light industry? It's really not worth it. Some people say, well, I have a bunch of supply to begin with, I need to use it. Well, that's one way to look at it, but you need to look at it, depends on how you look at it. I play long-term, some people play short-term games. They go for auto victory, and if they get it, the game's over. If they don't get it, a lot of players are done. They can't, into 43 and 44, they just get crushed. Because they've spent everything on the front half of the game, and they got nothing left. So I don't think light industry is ever worth expanding or repairing. Hell, I almost never repair heavy industry. Once again, it takes heavy industry produces 2 supplies for 2 fuel and 20 resources. So your return on investment is 550 days, half of the light industry. But that's still almost 2 years before you start making any profit on it. If you do it in the first month of the game, or maybe in the first 6 months of 42, maybe it might be worth it. Because that way you, in 44 and 45, you're getting the benefit of the extra supply. But there's no point expanding heavy industry or repairing it in bases you have no hope of having in late 44. It'd be like, hey, hey, I want to build a bunch of heavy industry. You can't do this, but hey, at like truck. Well, in 44, if not before that, truck's going to be bombed flat. Anything you build there is that's economically is worthless because it's not going to be there when you need it. Some places up in Manchuria or the home islands, in 44 you should be fine. In 45, I wouldn't count on it because they're probably bombing it. And say you make an extra 200 heavy industry. Well, that's a lot more victory points you're going to give the Allies when they bomb it, and they will bomb it. So you got to be careful when you expand stuff. I'm not a fan of expanding light industry, heavy industry at all. Call it what you will. Some people love it. I just don't. Things that I will expand. Sometimes I expand armaments. Starting the game, I believe. Well, you know what? Let's just do it the right way. Where's my spreadsheet? My God, I can't find it now. There it is. I'm blind. All right, I'm going to minimize this, maximize this, and of course you can't see it yet. There we go. Let me go to armaments. I love Excel. For those who don't own the Microsoft Office suite or whatever, Google Docs works just as good. Same damn program, but it's free. Basically, I go through, I record what I start with in the game. So scenario 2, I started with 700. I'm thinking about expanding to 770. I haven't done it yet, and I probably won't. Vehicle. Same thing. I write down what you start with, and then I kind of plan what I expand to. I'm currently at 165 vehicle points, so I have expanded some, but I haven't gone crazy with it either. Naval shipyards. This is from an old game. I have not expanded them at all. Same thing. It's just not worth it. Now, one thing I do, because I play a variant game, I do buy some repair yards in other places because they're nice to use. Another thing I wanted to cover, oil and refineries. Well, first of all, let's do refineries. Refineries fall in the same grouping as light and heavy industry. Well, let's just start here at the front, manpower. Never repair manpower. There's no reason to. In every game I've played, now I haven't played into late 45 or nothing. I've played into mid 44, and I'll have like 60, 70,000 manpower, or, well, more than that. I'll have like 1 million manpower. What the hell are you going to do with that? You can't use it all. There's no reason to ever repair it, and that's without repairing it. Manpower is just not worth repairing. You get what you get when you take bases, and you don't ever touch it. Turn that repair crap off for them. You don't need them. Refineries. Don't repair refineries. The only refineries that are going to get damaged during the course of the majority of the game are at bases you take. Rangoon, Mogwai, Palembang, Miri is a big one. The Tarakan, Balikpakin. Why would you repair those refineries when you start the game with more than enough refining capacity? I am refining 11,000 tons of oil in Japan on a daily basis, and I haven't expanded anything. Hell, I don't even produce nowhere near that much oil right now. Even at max capacity, you'll be making a couple thousand more oil than you can refine a day. But that's fine. You do not need to repair refineries. There's no reason to. Don't do it. It's a waste of your supply. Now, oil, on the other hand, that's a different story. Oil is the lifeblood of Japan. Without oil, you cannot turn it into fuel. Without fuel, you cannot run your navy, and you cannot build anything, because heavy industry, which feeds all of your other industries, uses fuel. Without fuel/oil, your economy is dead. So, I usually repair a lot of oil. Like, I'll take Miri and it'll be like 150 points damage. I'll repair it all. Miri, in case you have forgotten, is in Borneo, right here. Once you take that base, you might keep it the entire game. A lot of players don't even come up here and take any of these oil stuff. They'll come up like New Guinea, take Babeldeab, maybe Malaccas, and jump up to Mindanao, jump right into Luzon, and then come up in Formosa. They might cut it off, but that doesn't mean you can't get it home. If you still have the Magic Highway in China, you haul it up into Indochina, Thailand, drop it off, and it'll find its way back home. Maybe not as easy or in large numbers like your convoys would, but you're not losing ships. So I repair Miri. Depends on how bad Palembang's hurt, I'll repair Palembang, Tarakan, Balikpakin, because these guys are safe bets. You're going to keep these for worst case till late 44, and by then you should have enough oil/fuel. You should have enough oil at home to last you the rest of the war. My last game, I went into mid 44. I had a year and a half to 2 years of oil in Japan stockpiled. The game won't last that long. Now, another big oil base, Mogwai, up in Burma. It's a nice oil base, 300 points, has refineries along with Rangoon. You're not going to keep that oil. Don't you dare repair it. And once the RAF starts pounding it, don't repair it. Don't ever repair it. You will probably lose this before 43 starts. Just because once the RAF gets enough heavy bombers, even mediums really, by themselves, without even bringing the U.S. aircraft over, you can't put enough planes in the air to stop them from bombing Mogwai flat. Only way to protect Mogwai would be to come up here and take southern India. Some people do, some people go further than that, some people don't. They stop up in Burma and they call it good. If you do that, Mogwai's dead. Protect it when you can. I mean, I'm not saying don't put fighters there for during day cap and night cap, because they'll come at night. Allied heavy bombers do much better than Japanese at night of hitting their targets. I'm not saying you shouldn't defend it. I'm just saying don't repair it and don't expect to keep it for the entire time, because you won't. He will bomb this flat way before he reconquers it. Mogwai's like a bonus. Enjoy it while you have it, but don't count on it, and don't do anything crazy to keep it, because you can't protect it without taking southern India. So that's the big thing on oil and that. Like I said, in my game, I am still early on all of this. We're in mid-January, so my stockpiles are still seeing me through. The only thing I'm worried about currently is my resources. It's just over 2 months, although for me, this is still a lot of resources. A lot of times I've been down to like 17 days, 20 days. I start panicking when I hit 20 days left. Because if you're hauling from like Singapore, it's going to take you 7 or 8 days to haul it home. So, if you hit 10 days of resources, you are in critical condition because it'll take you that long to get anything home from any of the far away places, which is, of course, where most of the resources are. So you want to start hauling resources on like turn 2 or 3. The first week of the war, you want to be relocating all of your ships into a couple strategic spots and then going from there and get those resources flowing from Hokkaido and Sakhalin. Throw a couple oilers in there to bring the oil as well, and that way you don't have to worry about it. Because one thing people may not know is that if you have a 30-point oil production at a base, once it hits 30,000 oil at that base, it stops producing oil. It's not like resources that will just keep on stockpiling. No. Oil hits a cap and then stops because the base can't hold anymore. So you don't want that. Every time you hit your cap, you're throwing away oil. You're throwing away fuel. You're making the game harder on yourself. So don't let those bases get that high. Which is why when you take Palembang, Marionette, make sure you have oilers or tankers standing by in case the other players have turned off the refineries and they're stockpiling all that oil, hoping to hit that cap. Because once they hit the cap, well then, it doesn't hurt them much. The U.S. produces all the fuel that they will ever need. He just has to haul it somewhere, but it does hurt Japan. So keep careful with that. When you do your expansions, expand your stuff. Expand it smartly. Don't be stupid. Don't go in on turn 1 and expand all your industry because 1, you can't, and 2, you're going to cripple your economy. The first thing you should do on turn 1, go to your bases, find out, go into J, look at, hey, I'm going to produce, aircraft at certain bases. Well, Maebashi here is a small base. It probably doesn't even have any units here. Oh, it has 1. It has an air defense regiment. So normal supply on this base is like 200. Well, you can't repair industry with less than 10,000 supply. So make sure you raise the supply required number here in all your industry bases to at least 10,000. Give it a day or two to pull those supplies in. You're talking like turn 2 or 3. And then you can start increasing your industry. Bases where you're going to be shipping a lot of troops out of, like maybe Tokyo, I have it at 28,000. Tokyo, you don't have to worry too much because it's always going to have a bunch of supplies. But like Nagasaki won't. I have it at 29,000. So I had 80-some thousand supply here because 1, there's factories here, and 2, I ship troops out of Nagasaki, so I need to have supplies to go with them. So turn 1, you want to go back and adjust your supply draw for all your industry bases, and then give it a day or two, a turn or two, to let the supplies flow, and then you can start doing it. One thing you do want to be careful is Hokkaido is a supply deficit, which means it consumes more supplies than it produces. You have to ship supplies into Hokkaido, especially if you're repairing the industries and stuff. So you don't want to, be like, hey, it's been a month. Why aren't these factories growing? Oh, because I have 5,000 supplies in Hokkaido total. So you want to be shipping some stuff into Hokkaido now and then. But back to current status for me, I am doing quite well. All my production aircraft models are fully expanded. I am producing. My current production problem is engines. Unfortunately, that is where my trouble is. I produced 6 HA-33s last term. I probably could have used 10. You see, I used 3, but if you look, I produced no Nels. Nels use, multiple, 2 of those per plane. So I needed 4 to produce my Nels. Well, I only had 3, so I didn't produce any. The rest are on a pretty fairly steady, if not slow, increase, except for the 33s. I'm really having trouble with those. Several models of my aircraft use those. I'm producing those planes as many as I can. I've even turned off production of the Jakes, although I need to turn that back on soon because it uses a 33. You can look down the side what uses 33s. It's all the big ones. Tinas, that's 4. Valves, that's 1. I need valves to replace my carrier losses. The Randys, which I have available, uses them, so I'm not producing those. Jakes use them. Nels use them. So there's a lot of decent planes. The 32s and 33s are your mainstay engines for everything but fighters. And those planes will use 2 or 4 of each. Like the Sallies use 2 30-32s each. So I'm using 4 just to produce my Sallies every day. And I'm producing 5. So if I have a surplus, it's 1 a day. Which takes me back to the whole thing of, on the engines, why I'm still expanding all my engines. These have a long way to go because none of them are where they need to be. In fact, I pulled another factory out of production of an engine I wasn't using. I was saving it to convert it into one of the 8th of the Nakajima 45 once I research it. I turned it into a factory for HA33s because I need them that bad. So I want to keep an eye on your production. I go over my production levels every turn. For those who watch all my videos, you see I always come into here. I spend a moment or two in this screen, counting up how many engines I produce, how many aircraft I produce. And then, of course, I go into the devices and see what I'm producing every turn. I don't pay attention once it gets down to like 6 or 5, whatever. I don't care if I produce, 1 sound detector or any of this stuff because I'm not producing those. It does it automatically. But I want to see where all my points or all my armament points are going. Currently, it's going into guns. And where my holdups and what kind of planes I'm producing. But I didn't want this to turn into a long video, but I think I've gone past that point. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off it here. I hope you guys learned some stuff. If you have any questions about why I'm doing certain stuff, let me pull this back up so you can look at it again. How I do my notes or why I record this or record that. Or just any general economy questions, come over to Jochen Heiden's Discord. The link's in the video. Hop into my channel and just fire away. My channel is private to a point that my opponent Hellsen is not in it, nor are any of his confidants, so we could talk anything we want about my game in there with pretty much complete security. If you do come in there and you see stuff, it is an honor system that you do not repeat it to anyone else, especially not to my opponent, but I will answer any questions freely and help you with, answer your questions about why I do it, questions that you have. And the Japanese economy is probably the number one reason people don't play Japan. They look at this, they go, oh my God, I can't do that. They try once, they screwed up royally, they don't ever come back. This is the reason I play Japan, because of the economy. The logistics is part of it too, Okay, I have to move all the resources here, or oil there, or fuel here. I like that as well, but both sides have a lot of logistics. It's been jokingly referred to this game as logistics in the Pacific, which is true. If you're fighting troops or somewhere and they have no supplies, doesn't matter how many tanks you got, how many guns you got, how many men you got. A smaller force can easily defeat you if you don't have supplies. That, and you can't repair your disabled squads. You can't take replacement units. It's just supplies and that make the game. But like I said, if you have questions, come on over to the Discord server, ask away, and I'll do my best to answer them. I'm not the only one over there that knows a lot about the economy. Several people do. Ask in my channel, or even if you have just general economy questions, you can just throw them in the Warren Pacific General channel, and myself or any of the Japanese players can help you. If you have specific ones for my game, though, only ask them in my channel. All right, guys. hope you found this video a little bit enlightening. Learned a little bit about my supply situation, my economy situation at the moment. Personally, I think I'm in great shape for the long game. My biggest problem currently, other than the HA33 engines, is slow rate of turns from Hellsen. I'm used to doing 3 turns a day plus, and I'm lucky if I get 4 a week at the moment. I know he has a new job, so that's really hard on him. It's overnights, which suck. I've done that. So I'm just trying to stay alive here and taking turns as I got them. But I want to sign off this video. If you guys enjoy it, please hit the like. If you're following my campaign and you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe as well. Until the next video, guys, you have a great day, and I'll see you later.